I have been having an incredibly good time helping to create all of these fun different motifs to help us all learn more and more about our free motion machine quilting. So I am super excited today to take some of the basics we've already done and elaborate them a little bit more. Now, I have to share with you this new book, and it's not a new book to me, but it's a new book hopefully for all of you. First Steps to Free Motion Machine Quilting by Christina Camilli. I was blessed to get to interview Christina about a year or so back, and when I looked at this book, I literally told her if I was going to write a book on free motion quilting, especially because of the troubleshooting, the setup, the feet, the needles, the threads, all of that, and motifs, this is the book I would have written. Now, in talking to her last week to make sure it was okay that we use some of her motifs, because we're going to do open or stretchy meandering. Let me find that while we're talking here. And making sure it was okay with her that we use some of her ideas and her motifs, we started chatting. She sent me a brand new book, and check this out. If you haven't seen this before, it is incredible because it's page after page after page of fantastic motifs, completely broken down, and it is wonderful, and I have found it to be incredibly inspiring. So thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. I appreciate you letting us work from some of your motifs. Today, we're breaking down the simple basics of meandering, but we're stretching it out. Let's wander over to the sewing machine and just get this going, right? Now, before I get too caffeinated and start running the needle, I want to talk about the use. So you probably have already bounced down into the description below and printed out your free printables for this. So the stretchy meandering is just like our early meandering, but we're opening it up a little bit. We're making longer straight passes before our curves. And I do a lot of nature quilts or landscape quilts. So if you take this stretchy meandering, you can break it down. And if you start to add swoops and swirls, another one of our videos we have for you out there, then you can start to get a watery look or a watery effect that I use a lot in my waterscapes. And then if we crush it all together, pack it in nice and tight, it gives us a really awesome wood grain effect where we're focusing kind of like on the knots that would be in the tree where the branches are and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to do all of those real quick on our little piece, and then we're going to bust out the big quilt, and we're going to do it on a big quilt as well. Because remember, a lot of the information or the tip that I really want you to be thinking about today, a lot of us get overwhelmed when we look at the big quilt, the all over process, and we're not worrying about that. We're just thinking small amounts of quilting at a time, one square at a time. So that's the big tip I want you to take. Remember, don't get overwhelmed by the whole project. We're just looking at it one block at a time. I'm slipping on my Machine Gears gloves because I love the fact they give me traction in my fingers. A quick reminder, if you haven't seen the other videos, I'm using a Sew Slip mat on my machine so that it has a nice flow to it. And we're going to start right here with a open, the original meandering, and we're going to go into stretchy meandering, and then I'm going to break it down piece by piece. Let me get us a fresh sample so you can see what we're doing here. Okay. So first of all, and I talk about this not as often as I should, right now my machine has a thread cutter in it, but I want to talk about our starts and our stops. So we're starting in the middle of our project, basically. I'm going to take a single stroke while hanging onto the thread that's from the needle. I've got that pinched on the fabric there. I'm going to lift my presser foot to open up my tension, and I'm going to lift, and my little thread tail snuck away, so let's see if I can do this one more time. If you've used your thread cutter on your machine, chances are your thread tail is so short it's going to be hard to get a hold of. I've pinched it with my scissor to grab it. If you're not using a thread cutter, that trick would have been really smooth and your thread would have been nice and long. Either way, I now have both the bobbin and the needle thread on the top of the project. So I can lower my presser foot, and let's just warm up, keep our shoulders nice and light, and we're going to start by that easy meandering. So we're just doing big circles, big loops, kind of half hearts. After I get to a certain spot, I'm going to stop so I can cut these threads out of my way because they just visually bother me. Get any distraction out of your way that's driving you mad. Make sure you're listening to music that you like or a book on tape that you like. And here's that basic curves. So there's really no straight between my meandering yet. So to do the open meandering or the stretchy meandering, we're going to start to take longer passes between the curves. We're going to head back, and I should stop and point out that I should always keep my hands in location or in sync with my needle a little bit. Coming down, you can go both directions with your curves if you need. If you get in a tight spot, you can do a short curve, keeping the meandering going. Now, let me stop you right here, and I'm hoping you can see all of this area. One of the things I'm starting to try to do is I'm trying to break it out so that I don't have all of these stopping in a line, because I want it to look random when I'm done. So I'm going to bring this one short, bring it back down, and I can just tie into it, that section that way. So there's really no pattern, it's just a feel or a flow for our open meandering. Now, let's talk about how to, whoops, I was warming up earlier and I was using the last of my bobbin. I forgot to rethread bobbin. I say we take a quick break for commercial and I'll be right back with a fresh bobbin.
When you're looking for a treat that's light, refreshing, not too sweet, just walk into your favorite store and get the treat you're looking for.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I appreciate the message from our sponsors there. Now, let's talk about this because this happens all the time. We want to change colors of threads, or we need to change bobbins or something as we're sewing along. Now, I ended up cutting my thread because I needed the spools and everything to wind my bobbin. So I have left here both the bobbin thread and the needle thread coming up from the last series of work we were doing. Now I'm going to back up here a couple stitches. I'm going to drop my needle right in the path I was quilting in. I'm going to bring up the new bobbin thread. I left a nice long tail down there so it'd be easy to get a hold of. And now I'm going to try to keep all 4 of those threads out of the way. I'm going to take a few stitches to tie in or lock in that stitch, and then I'm going to continue on the path I was quilting, stopping here so that I can get all of these threads out of the way. And if I need to come back later and clean them up a little bit, I can. But that should work, and it should hold, and it should also secure those loose ends of the thread we had going before. Now, we were just coming out of our stretchy meandering, and we're going to go into what it would look like if we started making water. So if I'm doing water, we need to kind of think that our horizon's running from side to side right now, the way this is set up. But I'm going to now start to add a little bit more curve or character to my line. Instead of it being straight, I'm going to add more of this wavy motion, and maybe some faster turnarounds, and then every now and again we can add in kind of our ripple in the water, our swirl or our swoop that we've done before. And we're just going to keep on going. We're meandering back in here. You want to keep your swoops spaced out a little ways, and they can go both directions, of course. Circling in and out like yay. So this, especially done with some fun shiny threads, and I really like the poly threads for the sheen that are available, the poly neons. And what happens with those is it gives a really neat water texture. Those swirls are also used as a really great way to get yourself out of trouble. So I started quilting myself into a circle a little bit there, or a ditch. So now I'm just coming out of that area, and I'm kind of filling in with that curvy, loose, open meandering, keeping a good amount of negative space of the fabric and of the threads playing together there. Okay, now let's move on to wood grain. So as I'm coming around here, if we're going to do the wood grain, it's just like the water. I'm going to do long stretches and really tight, almost where they come back in and they touch. Then I'm going to come out loose. See how I'm kind of V'ing away from where I was working. Coming in, we're forming a knot right now. I should say a wood grain knot, not a knot in our threads. See that starting to form up? Come back around the bottom end of it. Lock it in, do some more wood grain. Then we're going to follow that knot up. Keep in with the wood grain a little bit. Same thing like with our open meandering. We don't want all of our starts and our stops of our curves in the same spot. So I'm coming about halfway down and heading back up again. If you're not aware, the knots in tree branches or trees come from where the branches were coming out of the stalk or the trunk. So you don't have millions of them in your wood grain, but you do have them often and often off to the side of the tree you're looking at. So we can do another little one here. Okay, now that I'm all warmed up, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to warm up, even if it's just for a few moments, before you put your real project, your real quilt inside the machine. So we're gonna do some of these same designs on what I'm calling the Man Sampler, one of our sampler quilts. No, I'm sorry, there's no pattern for this. It's just blocks from a lot of our other tutorials. I wanted to point out, you can see that a lot of this is quilted. I'm going to do some quilting right here. I don't care what's going on over here. I'm only worried about what's happening right here underneath the machine because I'm only focused on that. But I have it spread out right now. One of the things a lot of times we do, we stretch our quilt out. I want to bring it in, and I really want to do what is called the fluff and stuff method today. So I'm actually getting all of this close to the machine so that as I move the quilt, I'm not trying to drag the weight of all of that quilt across the table. So I brought it all in close so the area that I'm working in will look nice. Now, I've mentioned before that I like to use these curved safety pins for basting, and I'll bring this in so you can see that I have thread now within my hang loose sign. So I can remove this pin so it's not in my way. I'm close enough to it that it's all secured with the threads I'm using. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start in this corner. My goal for this motif is to come out of these swirls like I was doing with that stretchy meandering and kind of do that watery motif in here. But because this is in a landscape, I'm just going to play with those design elements and I'm not going to actually make it look just like water at any rate. So I brought up my bobbin thread. I've got my needle thread. I'm going to take a few stitches to hold it in place. And then I'm going to continue first by following kind of a meandering around that curl that was already there, just to add some fun interest. And now I'm going to break into an open meandering, and I'm going to kind of try to triangulate it a little bit. So you can see that even though I've got a ginormous quilt under the machine, it's moving freely because I'm only working in one section. Got my hands under nice control here. And I'm not stressing over all the other motifs that I can do later. I'm just trying to think about the one at a time. And of course, you can do your stretching meandering in a triangular fashion, not just linear, if you like. But I want to build on this, so I'm going to add in my curls now. And I'm just going to sit and play for a little bit of time and turn on some music like I do when I'm quilting. So you enjoy what we've got going on here. Okay, and as you can see, I love to work kind of in the seam allowances. That's where I kind of trap my brain into those different squares and whatnot. And then I just will keep working on those different motifs and keep filling in our Man Sampler here as I go, just thinking about it one section at a time. So I am so excited that you're all following along, and I really want to say thank you to all of the fans out there, especially those of you who are putting your comments in there. It is really awesome for us to not only get to read the comments, see all the positive feedback, but also to get your ideas and know what you want to learn. So again, please keep putting in the different kinds of motifs and the different styles of quilting you would like to be more educated on, because I will do my best to do just that for you here at Man Sewing.